Welcome back to Briefing the Chief. I'm your host, Patrick Jordan, and we are going to do another Chiefs brief today. And I had to talk about this, the TSA, the funding for the TSA. Now, you can find me on X at LAC Jordan. You can also find me on YouTube, Rumble, TikTok, and Facebook at Briefing with the Chief. All of those platforms, that's my title, Briefing with the Chief, and you can find me on all of those. And go to YouTube because it's open to the public. You can drop a comment there, and you'll find all my videos there as well, and you'll find the videos on all of those platforms. But I wanted to talk about funding TSA now. Right now, we have a fight going on in Congress where the Democrats refuse to pass the continuing resolution to allow for the funding of ICE and FEMA and the Coast Guard and other entities. Now they did pass a partial continuing resolution on other expenditures, but they're holding back on this. And this just isn't the time. But I got a video. Let's roll with the video so you can see what I'm talking about.
Millions of spring break travelers are on the move, hacking airports, all while funding for the Department of Homeland Security is halted, and 60,000 TSA workers are receiving their first $0 paycheck.
I have 3 kids, a wife who depend on me to go to work, and they depend on me to feed them, to take care of them.
It's a growing crisis. Denver Airport now asking travelers to donate food and gas cards. Food pantries opening up from JFK to Seattle.
I do plan on coming to work as long as I can. If I can't come to work, then I can guarantee you there's a lot of other people that are not going to be able to make it.
Since the shutdown, more than 300 TSA workers have quit, and call-outs have more than doubled. This after chaotic scenes and long lines like these in Houston, New Orleans, and Atlanta. And this morning, the TSA exclusively sharing this video with GMA, now being played in airports nationwide, warning passengers about longer than average wait times and staffing shortages due to the shutdown. This comes as the TSA acting deputy administrator tells us they've seen a rise in attacks on officers.
We've seen increases in assaults on our TSA officers, which is always completely unacceptable. And so we just ask our passengers to please be respectful, thank them, because they're doing an incredibly difficult job under incredibly difficult circumstances.
Despite the shutdown, airlines trying to keep up with demand are adding flights. United Airlines expects this to be the busiest spring break season ever. Some guidance for those traveling in the coming weeks. To save time, avoid checking a bag. Do your best to carry on. Arrive early, 3 hours before a domestic flight, 4 hours for international travel, and always look out for the latest updates from your airline and airport. Guys?
Yep, as they always say, Pat, your patience. All right, Victor, thank you.
3 hours before domestic flights, and this can all be resolved if the Democrats just allowed for the continuing resolution to go through to fund ICE, to fund TSA, to fund FEMA, to fund the Coast Guard. Now, here's the deal. It is spring break season, so you see long lines. Families are taking their spring break and they're going on vacation, and they got to deal with it. And I just got to do a shout out to the TSA folks that are showing up to work, and the Coast Guard and FEMA. Thank you so much for showing up. Now, because we're going to talk about this in a little bit, or I'm going to have a video show in a little bit, but this is the third shutdown in 6 months pushed by the Democrats because, see, they don't have really any power other than to deny voting for the continuing resolution. The continuing resolution is merely a vote that every few months both parties come together and vote for a continuing resolution. And here's the deal. That didn't happen under Biden. The Republicans could have done it, but the Democrats are doing it in the hopes of gaining some leverage over the Republicans to deal with ICE. And we'll get to that in a minute, but let's hear what the TSA union has to say about this.
All right, you are looking live over Washington, D.C. this morning, where lawmakers remain gridlocked over whether or not to fund the Department of Homeland Security. The failure to reach a deal is now leading to impacts for many families in our region. TSA workers at Sac International Airport are calling on Congress to end the partial government shutdown, now about to enter week 3. And this is the third time in just 6 months that TSA workers have had to wait on a paycheck due to a shutdown.
Congress needs to find a way to get our people the money that they owe them for the hard work that they do.
Those folks in Washington who are so detached from the everyday struggle of Americans, this is what they should expect, that workers will stand up and fight.
The center of the funding debate revolves around the Department of Homeland Security. Democrats are calling for reforms to agencies such as ICE and Border Patrol, but Republicans have not appeared to negotiate any sort of reforms or new bills.
Yeah, so you hear that. Now, here's the thing. In the last week and a half or so, since we started the conflict in Iran, we've had 4 terrorist attacks. And if you remember correctly, TSA was plussed up and funded after the World Trade Center attack. It was to make our airlines safer. And here we are in a heightened situation because we're in a military conflict with Iran that has funded terrorism all across the country. We've had 4 terrorist attacks since that conflict started, with some loss of lives. Let me remind you, we had a terrorist attack in Austin, Texas. I think they lost 3 people in that attack. We had a terrorist attack in New York, right outside the mayor's house, where 2 radical Islamists attacked a crowd of people standing in front of the Gracie Mansion. And we had an attack at Old Dominion in Virginia, in a class with an ROTC class, in which the head of the professor, a lieutenant colonel, was killed, and 2 guys were shot. And fortunately, the classroom took care of the suspect, right? And of course, we had the attack in West Bloomfield, Michigan, where a driver drove a car with what appears to be improvised explosive devices in it into the largest Reform synagogue in the country in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. So those are, and we probably got more coming. And it is irresponsible for the Democrats to continue this shutdown of TSA, FEMA, the Coast Guard. And here's the deal: they want to craft a deal. So I'm going to read a little bit to you, and to me, it's still irresponsible, because what the Democrats are calling for is that, hey, we'll fund the rest of TSA, but we want to shut down the discretionary spending for Customs and Border Patrol and ICE, and we want concessions from the Trump administration on how ICE does its job, including one is completely unnecessary: judicial warrants to get suspects. That is completely unnecessary. The law doesn't require it. You know, if you've been watching Briefing with the Chief, I went over the deportation laws. It's not required. So they're trying to set a higher standard for migrants. And you know what? They're holding your safety and the safety of your community, safety of travelers in this country hostage until they get what they want. And this bill has come up multiple times, and the Democrats have refused to support the funding for TSA. And think about this: they want to reduce the funding for Border Patrol. We now have the most secure border that we've ever had since Trump came in office, something that Biden said he couldn't do. He needed the laws changed to do it. Don't need the laws to change. You just needed a new president. So you got to put pressure on your senator and your House of Representatives regarding this. This is outrageous. We have several more weeks of spring break to go, and this is irresponsible. And think about it. Think about this. The TSA are low paid to begin with. Coast Guard, they don't make a ton of money, and we are holding them hostage. We are hurting their families simply to make a political point that is completely unnecessary. And if they get their way, they want to defund ICE and defund Customs and Border Patrol. Why would you do that, given the heightened terrorist attacks? Why would you do that? It makes absolutely no sense. I don't understand the Democrats' position on this, but I do understand Homeland Security, and we need DHS fully funded. And that is the quick Chiefs brief for today. And remember to like, follow, share, subscribe, anything that you have to do on the different platforms. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to Briefing with the Chief, and we'll see you the next time. Amanda, you can take it away.